Hello, hello, and welcome to Training Tuesdays. We are here tonight to talk about how to share your value without feeling like you're bragging. How to share your value without feeling icky. So, do you know what I call a braggy Brad? That guy who goes around the office and is always talking about all the great stuff that he does, the great sales that he made, or this deal that he pulled off, or this great thing that he did for the company. But he's always telling everybody about how great he is. And the challenge with the braggy Brad is that after his wandering around and bragging, you just kind of go, ick, ick. I don't want to be that guy. None of us want to be that guy. What we want to be, instead of a braggy Brad, is we want to be a confident Carrie. We want to be able to talk about the value that we bring and to showcase our best strengths without having the ick factor, without making you feel like when you leave the room, people have to take a shower, because that's kind of what braggy Brad does for us. So, welcome to Training Tuesday tonight. My name is Natalie Hahn. I am the CEO of Dirty Girls Consulting, for those of you who don't know or haven't met me yet. And this is what we do on Tuesday nights at 6 o'clock Eastern Time. We do a little bit of training. So what I want to share with you tonight, and if you're here with me live, I would love for you to say hello in the chat. I will try to follow the comments. If you have questions, by all means, drop your questions in the chat. I will answer what I can as best I can. Or if you just want to say hello and let me know where you're from. I'm talking to you tonight from scenic central Massachusetts, and every Tuesday night, 6 o'clock Eastern Time, we're here for training. And like I said, tonight's training is how to share your value without feeling braggy, without being icky. So one of the reasons this became a really important topic to me was about midway in my career, I had a boss say to me, you really need to do more, kind of step it up and step it out there for people to see you, like see where you are, see where you're at. Hey, Tracy, thank you for joining me tonight. See where you're at. And he was suggesting that perhaps people didn't see me enough or recognize me enough to know what I was actually doing. Hey, Jackie, great. Glad you're listening from the car. Thank you. Drive carefully. But he was encouraging me to kind of do more, because if I did more, I'd get more recognition. People would know what I was doing and the value I brought. And I think I wrote about this yesterday, and I was just kind of like, I don't think I want to do more. I don't think I can do more. I was already running marketing for him. I was running a conference for him. I was doing all of these projects, and they were getting done, and they were getting done really well, if I may say. And yet he was under this conception, this idea that somehow I was not being seen enough, that people weren't recognizing what I was doing, which made me think maybe he's not recognizing everything that I'm doing and the value of it. And that led me to sort of the three myths that I was currently working under. So I'm going to do a little myth busting. And the myth number one that we're going to bust right now is I was working really hard, really hard. And I was taking on projects, and I was taking on things that I thought would help showcase more. Like the more that I did, the more people would see me and recognize everything I brought to the table. And they would see that. And then in seeing that, I would be rewarded. That was myth number one. Myth number two was the longer hours. The longer I work and the harder I work, the more people are going to see and recognize my value. So I'm going to send that email at 8 o'clock on a Friday night, and people will know that I'm dedicated and hardworking and I'm committed, and I'll get rewarded for that. So I was working more. I was taking on more work. I was working longer hours. And myth number three was I actually thought people were paying attention. Myth number three is that anybody is paying attention to us outside of what is in their particular zone of priority. So when I realized that those three things were actually the myths that were holding me back in the middle of my career, and I'm not getting ahead, and it's partly because I'm just waiting I'm waiting to be handed a promotion or a raise or some sort of pat on the back that says, hey, you're doing a great job. We think you're a rock star. I was waiting for it. When in actuality, everybody was so busy in their own zone, they weren't really paying that much attention to what I was doing. So, the 3 takeaways I want you to have tonight around how do we show our value at work? How do we showcase the great stuff that we do without feeling icky, without an ick factor, without feeling like we're bragging, without being uncomfortable, both for ourselves and who we are, as well as to the people around us. Okay, those are three tools I want to give you. So the first one is recognizing, the very first one, recognize that not everybody needs to know how great you are. So the first key is to actually be strategic about who you're going to share your greatness with, who you're going to share your value with. Because there's only certain people who actually need to know your value and how fantastic you are that are going to help you get to that next step in your career or expand and find new opportunities or any of that good stuff. All right. So think about and look around to who is in the company that you're working with, right? Who's in your business or who's in your network. Maybe they're not in the company. Maybe it's just in your broader network who needs to be aware. Selectively pick who you're going to brag to. Because the other thing that happens is depending on who you brag to, right, who needs to know your value, will determine the channel you use, right? For some people, for example, let's just say it's your direct boss, it's your direct report. Simplest, easiest thing you can do is send a weekly email with the top 3 things you accomplished that week. Hey, just wanted you to know what I was up to this week. Here are the 3 top things I did. Maybe there's 5. But somewhere 3 to 5 things you accomplished that show what you've done for the business and what you've accomplished. You might tack on to that, and this is always helpful, especially if you're working with somebody with influence, right? A boss or somebody in a senior position or a peer who can help you. By the way, here are 1 or 2 things I struggled with this week that I could really use your help on. Because people do like to help. And we should be asking them for it, because the more you actually ask them for their help, it actually elevates your value in their eyes, because they're looking at you now as somebody that they can help, which makes them feel good, which pulls them more into the things that you're working on, which makes you part of a team and part more successful, and amplifies your value, because now you've got one other person going out there saying, hey, guess what we're working on? So just to use Jackie, because I know she's out there listening, right? For somebody to be able to say, hey, Jackie's helping me with this project, and this is the great work that she's doing. So it opens up a lot more opportunity for us when we're willing to not only share what we're doing and amplify what we're doing, but when we pick the right people to share it with. So like I said, quick tip, easiest thing to do, especially if it's a step up, like it's your boss or it's a supervisor or a peer. Maybe that weekly email to your boss of the 3 things you've done this week also needs to go to your teammates or to your peer group so that they know what you're doing this week. Maybe you have some ambitions of getting a step or 2 ahead, and you're looking at an exec member needing to know. Maybe the weekly email isn't appropriate for the executive member, but maybe an email is, or maybe a conversation is, or maybe talking to your boss about talking to the executive is. There's lots of ways to work getting your value out there. But the first piece is to identify who. Who are the important people you want to talk to so that you know which results of yours actually matter to them. Because your boss, for example, isn't going to care that you settled an argument between 2 of your peers on your team because they didn't agree on what design went out in the latest ad campaign. It's going to expect you to do that. He might care more that the ad campaign brought in 25 new leads that went over to sales and there's already 3 potential deals in the pipeline. That he would care about. So when you're thinking about what do I share with my boss about what I did this week, be selective and be smart and strategic about that. But step 1 is identify the people who actually need to know. Braggy Brad is Braggy Brad, and he gives you the ick factor because he tells everybody everything about what he does. And most of us don't care. Doesn't impact us. We don't like it. We all want to shower afterwards. So pick who needs to know. That's one. Step 2 is know the value. Align the value of what you do to what your role is and how it impacts the company. So know the company's mission. If you're not clear on how your role specifically contributes to the broader mission of your company, to the success of your team or your boss, then the very first thing you need to do is go get clear on that. Go figure out the connection, because there is one. For every single role in any company, there is a connection to why they pay you, what they expect from you, and how that helps the business. And there's 3 basic ways we help a business. We help them with revenue, making money. We help them with process and efficiency, operations, or we help them with people. And people is the umbrella for customer satisfaction or employee satisfaction. If we keep the people happy, if the operations are running smoothly, then we make the money. Something in your role touches on any one of those points or potentially all 3. And it doesn't matter if you're the office admin or the receptionist at the front desk, or if you're a member of the executive team. You have part of your role is a mission to furthering that goal. So think about it from the standpoint of someone who is saying, but I'm the office admin. I just keep the office running. Think about how critical keeping the office running is to process and efficiency, to making sure that everyone has the tools that they need, that everybody has a place to work, that their tools are functioning properly, that the office is actually communicating with each other, especially now where we're all dispersed. Office managers are actually pretty core people for companies that now no longer have an office, because they're the linchpin that shares an awful lot of the communications that goes on between employees who are around that hub. So no matter what your role is, you are in some way impacting revenue, impacting operations and efficiency, or impacting customer service or employees. Figure out what your value is. What is it that you're bringing to the table and impacting? Or if it's all 3. That's what you want to share. That determines your message. So it's one thing to say, okay, I know I need to report up to my boss, but I actually have some ambitions of maybe stepping into a different department. So I want to be sure my message gets over to this other department. I'm in marketing. I want to move over to product. Okay. We need to make sure people on the product team know what it is. For them to value what you do, you have to tie together the what you do with the mission. So focus on that. Go find out how your role actually supports the goals of the business. Now, tip number 3 is the one you're going to like the least. I always save the worst tip for last. Like last week, I think the last tip was setting boundaries. Nobody likes setting boundaries, but we all have to do it. Tip number 3 is not setting boundaries. Tip number 3 is have an elevator pitch. I know. It sounds so old school, right? And so stilted and structured and ew. But used the right way, there is a true value to having your own elevator pitch. Because your elevator pitch answers the question of, what do you do? It's nice to meet you. What's your job? And while you might get that question when you meet somebody new who just comes on the team, you might get that question from somebody from your executive team. You might get that question from somebody who's a peer with your supervisor or boss. You might get that question from someone outside the company who maybe has an opportunity for you. You want to be able to answer that question really clearly and concisely. And concise is key. So here's the elements. Your elevator pitch contains: what is your current job? What do you want your goal? What's your goal? What do you want your job to be? So where you are, where you want to go, why you're a fit, why you're a fit for the job that you're aiming for, and what makes you unique to tackle that. So there's 4 basic components, right? Current job, future job, why you're a fit for that future job, and what makes you unique about that. And then you shut up. This is a 60-second to 90-second speech that you're going to give. So, for example, and you want to practice it till it rolls off your tongue. You want to practice it so it feels natural. It's not a stilted speech. It's not a rehearsed, this is who I am, and you're in an interview kind of speech. This is somebody coming up to you at a party and saying, hey, it's nice to meet you. What do you do? I'm going to respond with, hey, it's great to meet you. My name is Natalie Hahn, and I help really ambitious women tackle big, hairy, audacious goals, no matter what those goals are. I myself was in corporate America for 25 years. I understand that climb through the corporate ladder. My goal is to help those women get everything they want and more. Everything they want in their corporate lives and live a life that they love. I've been there. I've done it. I love helping other women get through that. I'm done. Done. I'm telling you what I'm doing and what I want to do. I want to keep helping women who have big ambitions for themselves. Make that real. Make that happen. Now, bonus is if you can get this down to a sentence. There will be times you don't have the full 45 or 60 seconds for your full elevator pitch. What's on a t-shirt? If you were to print a t-shirt of what your mission is and what you're going after, what is that? Because mine would say something like, helping ambitious women achieve big, hairy, audacious goals and creating a life they love. I have like a sentence on the back of my shirt too. Because for me, the tackling is these big BHAGs, right? I love BHAGs. BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals. That's what we're tackling. But the truth is, what we're really trying to get to in my mission is living a life you love. Back of the t-shirt. It all comes together. So what's on your t-shirt? What's your elevator pitch when that person asks you, who are you? So where you are, where you want to go, why you're qualified to do it, and what your vision is that makes you special. And then what's the t-shirt version? So why does this matter? Why do you need to know exactly who you're pitching yourself to? Exactly what the message is that's important to pitch, because it's not the laundry list of everything you've done. It's the top 3 to 5 things that matter. And why do you need an elevator pitch? First and foremost, because of what I said at the beginning. Nobody else is paying attention. Nobody else is owning this for you. It is up to you to put yourself out there, to share your story and share your value in a way that the right people get the message so that the right opportunities are presented to you. Second, this is your chance of controlling the message. In marketing, we talk about controlling the message. In politics, been a lot of politics lately, we talk about controlling the narrative. You want to own that. Own your own narrative. Who are you? How valuable are you? What do you bring to the company? You drive that message. Don't wait for other people to recognize it and then pick and choose things that are important to them, but maybe aren't important to you in your career. Maybe not so important to where you want to go. That's not the reputation you want to promote. You want to own your own reputation. And 3, this is how you step into leadership. You step into leadership by managing your own reputation and your own career. And it starts with owning your value, knowing what you bring to the table, how it matters to the business, who needs to know, and amplifying that, letting people know. So those are your tips for tonight in terms of how do you share your value without feeling icky, without feeling like you're bragging too much or you're sharing too much, because when we're sharing value, that is nothing but 100% appreciated. When we develop and deliver our elevator pitch, and then we shut up, we give the recipient time to listen, time to think. All 3 of those actions say something about you. And what they say is that you're ambitious, that you know what you're going after and what your goals are, that you have the skills and the background to get it done, and that you're thoughtful. You've actually thought about this. You've thought about where you want to go. You've thought about who you want to be, and that's what you're putting out there. So, like I said, my mission is to help you ladies with your BHAGs, with your big, hairy, audacious goals. How do you get from where you are today to where you want to be? And how do we do that fast? How do we do that with great results? How do we do that with having a little bit of fun, digging a little deeper, giving you that career trajectory you want, and a life that you love at the same time? So thank you for joining me for the training tonight. If you would love to dig deeper into that for yourself, I invite you to drop the word leader. We're going to go with leader tonight in the comments. If I see the word leader, I will reach back out to you. We'll schedule just a 15-minute chat to figure out how we get you that one step further to amplifying your goals, that one step closer to being able to share who you are and the value you bring without being braggy, without feeling icky or uncomfortable. 15 minutes, completely free. Drop the word leader in the chat. And in the meantime, if I don't hear from you this week, I hope to see you next Tuesday for our next training. Have a fabulous night, ladies. Looking forward to hearing you all brag about who you are, what you do, and what you bring to the table in this week in our group. Share that information.